Hey, it's Brad, and boy, am I happy you're here. If this is your first time, I'm really glad you found us. You're not going to be disappointed. And if you've been here before, welcome back. This is Pain to Performance. Let's jump into today's conversation. Have you ever felt better and thought, okay, I'm good now, only to end up right back where you started? Maybe the pain went away, or maybe your energy came back, and maybe things finally felt manageable again. And then, quietly, it all returned. When that happens, most people assume they did something wrong, right? But the truth is, feeling better feels like progress. And because it feels like progress, most people stop there. They assume the problem is solved, it resolved, it went away, until it comes back. And when it does, they feel confused, frustrated, maybe even a little defeated. Not because they failed, but because no one ever explained what was actually happening. Now, I want you to sit here for just a moment, and I want you to think to yourself, has this ever happened to me before? It has, right? And I think the crazy thing is that we forget that. And I want to go ahead and validate you right now that even though things got better than got worse, you still had progress. And that cycle is exactly what we're going to be breaking down today. So here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They confuse symptom relief with symptom change. Those two things are absolutely not the same. So let's talk about symptom relief. Symptom relief quiets the problem. System change alters the conditions that created it. And if you do not understand the difference, you will keep repeating the same loop while blaming yourself for it. So if we are to really kind of break down the differences, let's talk about antibiotics for a minute. I know every single person that is listening to this right now has heard their physician say, you need to finish all of them. It doesn't matter when you start to feel better, you have to finish every pill. Why? The reason why is because we're going to start feeling better. And why is that? It's because the antibiotics are working. That's good. That means they're working. But the thing is if we stop taking those antibiotics, there's a very good possibility that whatever infection was happening is going to return, and it's probably going to be even worse and possibly now resistant to that antibiotic. Let me tell you a story. Whenever I started college, I had strep A, B, and C all at the same time. How did we know that? Well, I went in, I pretty much was at a point where my tonsils were touching. I could not breathe. It was really bad, you guys. And I ended up going into my student health services. And number one, they said, oh, wow, you look terrible. Please put a mask on. I looked awful. And they took me to the back. They ran all of the tests. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but really we can only test for strep A and B. And I could be wrong, but this is what I was told. That they could only test for strep A and B rapidly. Meaning like whenever they swab your throat and then they do the test while you're in office to be able to actually tell you if you have strep or not. Well, they did a swab, and the first time I ended up with strep A. They're like, okay, here's some antibiotics. About 5-6 days go by. I'm still taking them, but it's not completely going away. So I go back in and say, okay, I don't know what's happening here. I'm still not doing that well. They swab me again. They're like, oh, you have A and B. Okay, well, here's a stronger antibiotic. Okay, cool. I take those. Guys, I remember to this day, I was sitting in my dorm room while it was snowing outside. And everybody's outside. My freshman year, everyone's outside having snowball fights and riding sleds down hills. And I am dying, it feels like, in my bed. And every time I swallowed, it felt like I was eating glass. It was just terrible. And I sat there and I thought, what is going on? I'm not getting better. So I go back into student health services. Of course, not the day that it was snowing. I went in 2 days later. And by that period of time, my tonsils were almost touching. It almost sealed off my throat. And I walk in, and now at this point, they know me by name. And they look at me, they say, okay, we're going straight back. They took me straight back. I didn't even have to wait. So they end up doing a culture. And this culture came back with strep A, B, and C. So now at this point, they had to give me something even stronger. Now, let's imagine for a minute that I started feeling better the first time I got those antibiotics. Right, just a little bit. And if I had been like, oh, okay, well, my body now knows how to fight this, I'm just going to stop. How much worse this would have been. I probably would have been hospitalized, you guys. And just because relief feels like an ending, change requires continuation. Like what I had to do. I had to continue forward with treatment to make sure that I had the change that I needed. So feeling better usually means one of three things happened. Okay. The system got quieter, the system got distracted, or the system got temporarily supported. I.e., me, strep AB, and then ended up with C. Right? None of those automatically mean the system is stronger, though. They just mean it is less loud. So if we are to talk about how things get quieter, distracted, and supported, well, we already talked about the supported part. Antibiotics, they helped me. They supported me real well. Let's talk about the distracted piece. Let's say that maybe we start to feel that ache in our lower back. And we just say, okay, I'm going to push through it. I'm going to normalize this pain. I am, quote unquote, 45 years old. And this is just a, quote unquote, normal fact of life. So you just push through it and you distract yourself. You go to work. You start doing all of the things. And luckily enough, you don't really think about it. So the pain doesn't really hit you too hard. Let's talk about things being quieter. So let's talk about that same exact low back pain. Every single person that I've talked to, it is not 100% consistent. If it is, they tend to be looking for a different type of medical help. But let's talk about how this could potentially soften. Inflammation, for example. Inflammation naturally occurs inside of our body. And let's say that we've aggravated that lower back by lifting too heavy. So we just kind of take it easy for the next 2 or 3 days. It's going to quieten. It's going to quieten a little bit. Is that a word? I just made it a word, you guys. Y'all heard it here, quieten. It's going to get quieter. It's going to lessen almost in a way. But if you just start walking around again, it's going to ramp back up. So quiet is not the same as capable. Most people stop at relief because relief feels earned. They work hard, they push through, they finally feel okay, so they return to normal. And guys, I hate to tell you this, but the problem is normal is what created the issue in the first place. Sometimes we cannot lift 500 pounds. Sometimes we can't get through the barricade without a little bit of help. And humans are wired to stop once discomfort is gone. How weird is that? That we're just wired in a way to stop once discomfort is gone. Once we don't feel anything anymore, we're just like, okay, continue forward. Life is normal. But how awful is that? The fact that we're rewarding old and bad habits that are actually making us worse. So, with all that being said, this is not a discipline problem. It's a timing issue. Here's the pattern I see over and over and over and over and over again. Someone feels pain. They feel stress. They might be burned out. They find something that tends to help them, even just a little bit. And I talk about rain in the desert a lot to my clients. any bit of rain in the desert is going to feel fantastic. You're going to feel better. So you go right back to how things were. You have the same schedule, the same workload, the same stress, the same sleep, and then the issue returns. So what do? We have to slow things down. I want you to think for just a moment. What is it that's happening inside of your life right now that you think could potentially be a negative pattern or a negative feedback loop, whatever it may be? Now, what I want you to do is take that, realize it, and think, what can I do to try to break that? So let's take my friend Aaron for a second. Aaron has come in for massage. This is a fictitious person, by the way, you guys, but it is a true story. So let's say Aaron has come into my office. And the first time I see Aaron, I see him barely able to move. He's 27 years old, very well in shape. In the gym, I think 6-7 days a week. I mean, very active individual. And he can barely move. My first question was, what happened? Right? Well, what happened to you? And he said, dude, I went to go do a clean and I just did it incorrectly. And since then, I just haven't felt right. My first question always is, have you seen your doctor about this? Right? Because if your doctor says something's wrong, then maybe we probably shouldn't continue forward the same exact behavior, right? So what I did was I put him through several different tests and I said, hey, buddy, I am realizing that I think you might have a little bit of a disc herniation. I said, I can't diagnose, so here's a referral out for you to go see this person. We can try to help with a little bit of the inflammation around the area, but I would really, really, really like you to go see this person and maybe potentially get some x-rays, MRIs, all those fun things. And we do our treatment. He goes out, he goes sees this individual, gets all those images done, and then comes back and says, dude, you were so right. And it was so bad, you guys, that it could have actually inhibited him from being able to really live a normal life if they wouldn't have caught it when they did. So the question that he didn't ask is the one that changes everything, which is, can I continue forward life with this type of pain? What allowed it to show up in the first place? He didn't really think about that. Instead, he just continued forward with the same habits. So the nervous system remembers the pattern. It remembers the overload. It remembers threats. It remembers demand without recovery. So when you return to the same conditions, the same system responds faster next time. That's why people say it used to take months. Now it happens in weeks. Or it used to be very distant in pain, but now it's very forward. Or, oh man, I felt this a little bit in my teenage years, but now I really feel it now. So this is not failure, though. It's the body learning. It's us learning how to be able to actually perceive the signals that our body are trying to give us. So feeling better is not the finish line, though. It is the starting window. Okay, it is the starting window. It is the moment where change becomes possible and not optional. So if you treat pain relief as an ending, or just relief in general as an ending, I guess, you reset the clock. If you treat it as a window, you change the trajectory. We don't want to reset our clocks. We want to completely change the trajectory of where things are going. So this is what functioning better actually means. That we are now treating things as a window rather than an ending. So feeling better is a moment. Functioning better is a direction. This show is about direction. That's what Pain to Performance is about. And if you're still listening, it tells me you are ready to stop chasing relief and start building capacity. So let me come back to the question I asked you at the beginning. Have you ever felt better and thought, okay, I'm good now, only to end up right back where you started? If that has been your experience, I want you to hear this clearly. Nothing about that makes you weak. Nothing about that means you failed. And nothing about that means you did it wrong. It just means you were taught to stop at relief. But relief was never the goal. Relief is the moment your system finally quiets down enough for you to see what actually needs to change. Because what you do when things feel better determines whether they stay better. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of this? Try asking, what would make this system more capable next time? That question is what changes everything. Feeling better is a moment. Functioning better is a decision. It's a direction. And once you understand the difference, you stop chasing relief and start building something that lasts. Before we take off, one quick housekeeping thing. This podcast is for education and conversation only. I'm in no way a licensed therapist, doctor, wizard, and this show is not a substitute for care from a qualified professional. If something today made you think of someone you know, go ahead and do them a favor and send this episode their way. Pain is rarely a solo experience, and a good conversation is better shared. And if you're enjoying the show, make it official. Follow, subscribe, leave a review. It helps more than you realize and keeps this conversation going. Remember, the hardest part of pain to performance is learning how to listen. Now, I'll be here, same place, next play, and I can't wait to welcome you in.